So the next to go is Dr. Anirban Baduri, the specialist in ocular oncology and retinoblastoma, senior consultant in oculoplasty from Shushruth Eye Hospital, Eye Foundation. And he is going to talk on his interesting case, a dilemma and a pearl for us. And I would just like to add that Dr. Usha Singh is going to be moderating it. On to you.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Are my slides visible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having invited us to this program. It's an occasion to meet old friends. So familiar faces here and good company. So what I'll do is I'll switch gears to a much lower turn. So Surya showed something which is very innocuous looking, and it turned out to be a very rare malignant tumor. Mopia showed the typical teaching points in sebaceous gland carcinoma where they pretend to be chalasia. I'll present this case, which was a large pigmented eyelid tumor. Our patient, so how do I go back? So our patient was this elderly lady, 61 years old, who had a small pigmented nodule on the lid for about 6 years, and then it started growing more rapidly over the last 1 year, and that was during the lockdown. That was during the first lockdown. So she presented to us in March this year with this large lesion, and we planned surgery for her, and she again dropped out after the second lockdown and reappeared in July, which is when these pictures were taken. So what she has is this large papillomatous pigmented mass, which has a very convoluted surface if you look on close up, and with small keratin nodules. And it was 25 millimeters across and 20 millimeters vertically. And she had mechanical ptosis. So this picture was taken with her lying on the operation table, where because the weight is countered, she's still able to open her eyelid. But otherwise, in the sitting position, her eyelid would come down. Now, what would be our differential diagnosis at this stage? So one more point is she had a discharge, and you can see there's a little bit of maceration of the skin in the lower lid as well. But her lid could be everted, the conjunctiva was normal, the tarsal surface was normal, the fornices were normal as well. Okay. So how do I go back? Okay. So one of our differential diagnosis because of that convoluted surface was that we're looking at an unusually large seborrheic keratosis. But then because it was a pigmented lesion, the other possibilities, especially when she said she had it for a long time, was a possible melanotic nevus or a nevus which had converted to a melanoma. The papillary surface could be a possible papilloma, although in this case we were seeing a pigmented lesion. What about a basal cell carcinoma? The nodular form. This does not have any signs of ulceration. And really, this particular case, because it is pigmented, this is to include squamous cell carcinoma. We have encountered non-pigmented versions of the same tumor in the past, which were only confirmed on histopathology. So with a so-called benign lesion as my first diagnosis, we went ahead and did an excision biopsy. This was a superficial excision where we removed the entire skin from the lid surface, leaving orbicularis, healthy orbicularis behind. And then we closed the defect with a full thickness skin graft taken from this area of the left eye upper lid above the crease, and we put a graft here. And let's go to the histopathology. Costa would be able to highlight this better. So basically what we have is a papilliform lesion with a thickened squamous cell layer here, the acanthosis, along with hyperkeratosis, and there are these keratin horns within the epithelium as well. And these cells are of basaloid origin. According to the pathologist, which this is Greek to me, the dermis shows pigment incontinence and also mild chronic inflammation around the blood vessels, and there was no evidence of dysplasia or malignancy, and the pathologist confirmed the diagnosis of a seborrheic keratosis. Next. My slide is stuck now.
Why is that?
Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's taking a little time to. So what is seborrheic keratosis? This is actually a benign skin tumor. It's a proliferation of basal cells of the epidermis. They usually look like small, greasy-looking pigmented nodules, which have a stuck-on appearance. So they look dirty. This is a typical example. This is from a very recent patient that we saw. And these are often multiple and usually are seen on the face, the neck, and the back. Sometimes they also occur in areas where there is fold of skin, so in the buttocks or under the breast. And they may suddenly appear. In this case, if there is a sudden appearance of multiple lesions which are rapidly growing, this is known as the paraneoplastic sign of lesser Trellat, which is a harbinger of a malignancy, usually an adenocarcinoma in the GI tract. So this patient of ours, this was a solitary lesion, and it was typically benign. Now, the problem with seborrheic keratosis is it does not arise from sebaceous glands. It's absolutely an epidermal tumor, which is not associated with sebaceous glands alone. Costa would probably tell us better about this. This is a patient. We operated on him 2 days back for a melanoma in the right eye, which presented with neovascular glaucoma. But this picture was taken keeping today's program in mind, where this patient has these multiple small stuck-on lesions, which are seborrheic keratosis. And this is what we usually see in most patients.
1 minute remaining.
Lesions. Okay. So thank you for reminding me about the time. Just small take-home messages. Benign tumors may sometimes present with a dramatic or an aggressive appearance. The second is a knowledge of benign tumors is actually important to all of us, because there are two kinds of patients. There are one who worry about small lesions. So it is in our place to allay their fears and put them in a comfortable frame of mind. And in these cases, the biopsy is usually for cosmetic reasons. And then you have the other spectrum of patients who would sit on a tumor which is malignant. They'll put drops and ointment and let it reach a stage where either you have to do an extremely large surgery or go for a destructive surgery like an excision. So most patients would fall somewhere in between. And this need not be repeated again and again, but whenever there is a doubt, please go ahead and do a biopsy. Now, some benign tumors may be a harbinger of an internal malignancy. The sign of lesser Trellat is one of them. If you have a sebaceous adenoma, multiple sebaceous adenomas, that is a different condition. And then, of course, you have linear nevus sebaceous of Yanderson, which again needs to be observed because they are known to convert to malignant tumors in the future. That is all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anirban. That was very informative. And shall we hear from Dr. Usha now?
Yes, I would like to share a slide. Good evening, everybody.
It is getting cut. Can you stop sharing and then start sharing again, ma'am? It will work, I'm sure.
Stop sharing.
Yes, ma'am. Just stop sharing.
And?
Your PowerPoint is open now, ma'am. Now again start sharing, ma'am.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Perfect, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I thank Dr. Chitra for inviting me to share and discuss this case. Dr. Anirban has shown a nice case and he has made a correct diagnosis. Can I advance my slide?
It's not moving, ma'am.
Okay.
Now it's moving.
Dr. Anirban has done a correct diagnosis and thinking of a benign lesion because all the features were fitting into a benign lesion, and it was very well managed with excellent cosmosis. However, I wish you could give more of the clinical details or more description of the surrounding areas. As we know, seborrheic keratosis, it's a commonest slow-growing benign skin tumor in patients who are more than 50 years of age. And in this patient also, she would belong to this age group. And seborrheic keratosis, it's a benign clonal proliferation of immature keratinocytes. They show acanthotic proliferation of basal cells with varying degrees of keratosis and keratin-filled cystic inclusions, which was seen in the histopathology. They can occur anywhere from except for the palm, soles, and mucous membrane. The etiology is unknown, and however, it has been found to be associated with fibroblast growth factor receptor gene, however, which is but not causal. It's the most benign, it's mostly benign, except, like as he has said, when there is a sudden eruption or emergence of multiple seborrheic keratosis, and this could be a sign of, this is called the sign of lesser trellat, and it is suggestive of GI malignancy or a lung carcinomas. Now, coming to the description, as we can see over here, the commonest differential diagnosis could be from a basal cell carcinoma, a pigmented one. So if we examine this patient under slit lamp, we could see the margins. This is a BCC over here, and you can see the telangiectatic vessels, the irregular lid margins, and you can see this pearly rounded margins over here. And this is how the patient had presented. So when we did a close examination, we were pretty sure, and these are small areas which are getting ulcerated. So we were pretty sure that this is a malignancy. However, when we compare it with this case of Dr. Anirban, we can see it's fairly regular. There are hardly any blood vessels around, or no telangiectatic vessels. It's a big, flat, not exactly flat, slightly more thick and raised, though they are supposed to be described as a flat, stuck-on appearance on the skin with a greasy look. So this has a greasy look, and the only issue over here, it is quite large, and it's causing mechanical ptosis, and it's occluding her visual axis to some extent when she looks laterally. So if we compare it with a malignant melanoma or a nevi, we can see the differences given over here. So a seborrheic keratosis would be round or oval shape, and it could be from light tan to black in color. It's waxy or scaly looking, and it has a stuck-on appearance, and they occur as isolated or more. Typically, they stay the same size or they grow very slowly, and they may have, remain the same for years together, such as this case. Whereas if it is a nevi which has undergone malignant transformation, then you would have sides which will not match in size or shape. It would be relatively flatter but have fuzzy borders or ragged or blurred edges, and variety of colors could be seen within the same mold. And they have a smooth surface, and a patient would give history of a recent bleed or ooze, or a recent history of change, color, shape, and size over time. So with all these recent features of change in color, shape, size, we should think of a malignant transformation into a nevi. So the commonest differential diagnosis here would be a pigmented BCC and a malignant melanoma or a nevi. So that typically it does not warrant any treatment, except when there is a suspicious bleeding, suspicious looking lesion where you're not sure whether it's a benign or a malignant. There's bleeding, there's rapid growing or changing lesions, and for cosmetic reasons. So it can be removed by incisional biopsy or excisional biopsy, or you could just remove it with other methods. And however, this needs to be individualized for each patient, depending on the patient's requirement for cosmesis, the thickness of the skin, the color of the skin, etc. So the treatment which has been used in the past historically is cryotherapy and desiccation. However, these two leave side effects in scarring and pigmentation. And some gels and creams have been used for hyperkeratotic skin lesions. And however, these are smaller studies and the efficacy is not well established. Some vitamin D analogs have been recommended in some studies, and again the efficacy is not well established. And diclofenac gel and potassium dorbicillate has been used by certain authors. And very recently, there topical hydrogen peroxide 40% solution has been used for treatment of seborrheic keratosis, and this recent approval is for dermatological conditions. Lasers can also be used to remove this because it is very superficial. So you can use ablative lasers like YAG and carbon dioxide, and non-ablative laser has also been used in these. With this, I would say that this is a very well managed case and a very excellent outcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usha. That was again a wonderful discussion, a lot of learning.